Hello and welcome to another episode of The Conversation. My name's Graham, based in Manchester.
And I'm Malika, based in Norwich.
Again, another one, Malika. I can't believe how quickly we're getting through these.
I can't either. I'm just thinking, time's going so quickly, isn't it, when you're having fun? And I'm so glad to see your face, as always, because that's my look
Absolutely.
forward to on a Sunday, seeing your lovely face.
Oh, thank you so much. You too, Malika. And it's gonna be we're going to just keep talking to each other on Sundays and either record it or not record it.
Yeah, exactly. Do you mean it's nice having that friend that you can rely on and you can see, and we share so much, you and I, and I'm so delighted to be a part of this journey with you. So
Absolutely.
thank
I should
you.
say that we don't actually just talk to each other on Sundays. We do talk to each other
During the week.
during the week.
When you nag me about things and I'm too busy being a teacher, and I generally respond with, I'll check this out, talk to you later.
Yeah, it's more like
Really short.
through one night at 9 o'clock at night when I'm getting to going to bed after a busy day myself.
Great minds, great minds.
Absolutely, it's all good. Nagging is done in a polite way though, because we don't want to delay these episodes going out, do we?
No, we don't. And I'm glad you're keeping me on my toes as well with your scheduling and what have you. So yeah, really good.
Absolutely. So we've been talking obviously about the coronavirus and the impact of that over the past couple of episodes, and we're going to continue that journey today, aren't we?
We are indeed, yes. I understand we've got an amazing guest today that is going to explore the impacts of COVID-19 on the arts. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. So Michelle, it was we're joined. Well, I can't even say the words now. We'll join us in a second, and basically, they're a lecturer at a higher education institution, and obviously they teach public relations and obviously kind of all that PR stuff, and obviously that. In terms of being able to deliver that has impacted because, in terms of PR, there's not much happening at the moment because all the events have been cancelled. Then obviously they have their own podcast, or I think they're starting their podcast rather about how they some of the arts work that they do, and also they have regular slots in hosting events, and they have their own actual like kind of TV show on YouTube. But I'm sure Michelle will tell us all about that in a second. So I think
Yeah,
I'm starting to waffle now. So I think should we just bring Michelle in? It might be easier.
I think we should. We should just hear it from Michelle. Michelle.
You
Absolutely.
weren't waffling, Graham. Malika, he wasn't. He was
He
spot on.
wasn't.
Absolutely.
He was just being Graham. That's
Yeah.
Graham. That's
You
the
know
Graham
what?
I love.
Thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast. And it's great to see you on a Sunday morning and have a chat like this. But yeah, I'm here, I think, just to kind of mention about the arts, because you said there, Graham, I've got my finger in lots of pies, as a lecturer, as a presenter myself. And I've seen the changes, and I've got a lot of friends in the arts industries. And, it has hit the arts really hard, as we know from the news.
Yeah.
Lots of theatres obviously closed their doors a year ago, and productions, it's whether or not they'll come back, and little theatres as well. Will they ever reopen their doors? So it has been a difficult time, but I think it's all about trying to be inventive. And I think as an arts industry, they have been really creative and trying to do as much as they can to keep that theatre alive. And we miss it. God, don't we miss it, guys?
Yeah, definitely. I must admit,
Yeah.
I am a musical type of person, so not being able to, just go on a Saturday night and just go into the theatre, and just enjoy it. I mean, it's so bizarre. I mean, even TV at some point, obviously, that's in terms of people visualizing the impact on the arts. Most people have seen the changes on television, where the fact that you have to record these shows in different ways, and you see the distancing being, almost live, and then you see like, I watched Dancer on Ice, and they kept going about everything's been done in a socially distanced way. I mean, we get it. You don't necessarily need to say it, but you can certainly visualize it. But the hidden arts in terms of the theatres, the pop concerts, those things have all changed. I mean, obviously, I know we're going to talk about this very briefly, but I watch your show, Your Manchester, and basically, you've had to be in these perspex screens. And I mean, that must be so surreal for you and Belinda to just be like not that close.
It is, because we do this weekly show on YouTube, like a magazine show for Manchester, and we've always we laugh and joke, and I'm a very touchy-feely person, it's like, oh, Belinda, and I'll hit a shoulder and we'll have a hug. So we haven't had that connection. In lockdown, though, it was very much of a conversation in that first lockdown. What do we do? Do we continue the show, or should we just kind of let it lie for a bit? And it was Belinda who pushed and said, well, let's just do it from our bedrooms or whatever. So I did it from my bedroom. We learned all these new things. I never knew what Zoom was. Never knew what Zoom was
Same.
before the whole pandemic. So we did that, and you know, that worked together. People really enjoyed it because they wanted still to have an entertainment, have a laugh. And actually for us, it was a real turning point in the show because we'd always pre-recorded our YouTube show. I mean, you know that, Graham, you've been
Yeah.
a guest on the show.
Mm.
And we always wanted to make that step to go live. And because we were doing it live from our bedroom and living rooms, it was like, well, actually, why don't we do that when we go back in the studio? So we have. So for us, you know, it has turned into a positive. Yes, we've had to put, you know, all stuff into place. And yes, those screens are terrible, Graham. I can't wait until they come down and I'm like, she's there, Belinda, come on. But you have to do what you have to do to keep people safe.
Yeah.
And we are so glad that we've been able to get guests in virtually, you know, and I think TV has shown that, you know, you can switch it up. What's really interesting though, Graham, you mentioned before about kind of the filming and everything. I did an event in lockdown, which was for charity, and I hosted it. And one of the guests was Sally Dinover from Coronation Street.
Oh, cool.
Sally, and I spoke to her before we did our interview. And that was the week they were just incorporating the masks into Coronation Street. And it was bizarre actually, because when she was saying to me, oh, I've just shot a scene in Dev's Corner Shop with a mask on, you know, and we've done it. And I was like, oh God, yeah, because that's got to change as well. That's got to reflect what's going on in our world. But sometimes you just don't take that in, do you?
No, and I completely agree. I think my dad said to me the other day that I think Emma, one of them was on, so one of the Emma Dale or EastEnders was on, and basically goes, wait a minute, they're too close together. Get them, split them up. Do you know what I mean? And actually, it's because there's that slight delay. But yeah, they're all having to kind of demonstrate what's happening in the real world, shall we say?
But it's true. Yeah, it's true that things have got to be translated in the arts industry, things that we live on a day-to-day basis. And I guess that's happened over time. But perhaps we have taken things for granted. We have taken our arts for granted, more or less. A lot of us. I mean, on the continent where I grew up in the EU, it was always something that I cherished, the arts and the industry, going to the opera, being able to go just to watch a performance in the street, for example, a stand-up performance in the streets, or listening to people playing an instrument, or even going to an art gallery, watching an exhibition. It's always been something that's been around us, and this pandemic has actually brought all of that to a halt and has actually taught us that actually the arts industry needs to be cherished more than ever, because they are bearing witness to our contemporary times. And if the arts industry is not getting the support that it deserves from all of us, including governments, then we are risking we are risking its death. We are risking the global heritage dying with it. And I know it's not going to happen.
And I think, you know, we do need our spirits lifted, and we know the value of that, especially on our mental health. And I do think, though, obviously now, you know, the restrictions are letting up. I think people were going to be racing back to the theatre. I don't think people will not want to not go. Yeah. I think it's just a case of, in terms of how do they recoup all the money back when they're losing the amount of seats, because obviously there has to be distance. I went, funnily enough, in the middle. We had our first lockdown, didn't we? Then we had like a little bit of a break where we could do things. And I did go to the theatre during that time to see Rent at Hope Mill, which is a small theatre venue in Manchester in Ancoats. It's absolute gem of a place. And they had put plastic, kind of just very much like what we've got on the show for your Manchester, you know, like what was the word again, Graham, you used?
The banners, isn't it? The see-through banners.
Like kind of visors between the, you know, so I booked with my husband, and then the next couple next to us, there was like a plastic sheet, and we had masks on. It was a strange experience, but it was kind of, it was doable. But that night, the announcement came that the theatres had to shut again. So it was the first night for Rent, but it was also their last night.
Oh, that's such a
And
shame, isn't it?
the
It's
performers were
tragic.
crying at the end of the performance, and my heart, you know, these people had worked so hard. The people who owned the theatre had spent an awful lot of money trying to get the theatre right. So yeah, it's a really difficult situation going forward, but I do think, you know, they will try their best for it to survive as much as they can
Yeah.
do, and let's hope that they recoup the money.
Yeah,
Fingers
yeah, and I
crossed.
think that's 100% where it's at. I think it needs our support more than ever. And I know artists are very resilient in finding ways, as he described, finding ways to adapt to the situation. But we've got to make the effort ourselves to really support going forward and understand that this is our heritage and we risk losing it, and we can't afford to lose all that creativity that is out there, that is gifted to us. Really, we take it for granted, don't we? We do.
I think out of everything as well, you know, social media, you know, I feel a bit like Marmite with social media. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I really hate it. But I think for performers and entertainers to keep them still out there, I think that in itself has been useful. You know, I've been watching them doing kind of workshops for free, you know, doing little concerts to keep everyone's spirits up. But, you know, again, that shows their passion, and it also keeps them quite relevant and out there, you know. So I think that in itself has been great. I've watched a lot of theatre that has transferred online. You know, last week I watched the picture of Dorian Gray that has been done by a theatre with Stephen Fry in it and Joanna Lumley, and I watched it in the comfort of my own home. And yes, it wasn't the same experience as theatre, but again, it was still a production being able to be done under these circumstances.
And that's it. The thing is, that's the way things are moving forward. You know, I personally see, you know, a lot of choirs are coming together in a virtual world and doing the recordings being together. I think it's really brilliant. Like you say, the resilience and the kind of the creativity to go, okay, so we've got a problem, let's solve it, and they've come up with solutions. I think it's brilliant. And I think, you know, you've touched on things like, you know, how people are resilient. So if I can, just to bring in the kind of your from your academic viewpoint, so you know, that has a massive impact. I used to work within higher education, so obviously, you know, we were all sent home in March. So were the students. I know, and a majority of them haven't come back, I still believe, you know, and it's just like, well, online learning is great now. Obviously, me and Malika, we are impassioned of online learning because we've done it and we know it's done. But the courses that we did were deliverable online. But something like PR, is that deliverable online? What about the rest of the arts courses?
Yeah, well, I teach PR and journalism. So the PR hasn't been too tricky, but I do a module called content creation, because as you know, there's a lot of content creators out there now doing videos on social media, doing kind of, you know, even like podcasts and stuff being created. So that's hard because you're not there with them. But from the beauty of kind of Zoom and things like Collaborate, things like StreamYard, all these different techniques, you can deliver it. I think it's about trying to be 150% passionate about the delivery to keep them engaged.
Okay.
I literally, you know, go into lectures now and I feel like I'm being a presenter of a game show. I'm like, hi everyone, how you doing today? Come on, we're going to have so much fun. Are you going to answer this question? Go on. And it's like, because they need more. They need more, because some of them won't turn on their cameras, right? Because
Really?
you've got them at a certain age, you know, and in that age, they're working through, I think, some of them who they are and, you know, what their peers think of them, you know, and it's okay if it was me and them, they would turn their camera on. But if you've got a class of, say, 35, and then, you know, some of them's kind of just got up out of bed or isn't feeling particularly great, they're not going to put the camera on. So there have been days, Graham and Malika, where I have done a class to a blank screen.
How do you how does that sorry, I mean, I'm going to bring Malika in a second, but that
Okay, I've got a
bamboozles
laugh.
me because I have the same thing at work. Now, obviously, we're all on the NHS, we all know each other, and people just don't switch their cameras on. All you can see is their initials, and it's like, oh, I don't have a camera. I'm like, but they're on you. Bizarre. But Malika, obviously you're a teacher, so how have you found that? Can you relate to Michelle?
Yeah, 100%, Michelle. I was literally laughing inside, because it feels that way. You've got to find different ways to engage. I've been live streaming right through lockdown, as you know, Graham, when I hear people saying, negative things. I can't listen to negative things. They just drive me insane. And yeah, we've been live streaming lessons throughout lockdown, and it feels that way. I've got all these screens, all these little initials on my screen, and I know they're there. Well, I feel they're there. I'm not 100% sure if they've just switched off at that point and gone and watched something. But you've got to find different ways to positively engage your students and your pupils. As Michelle rightly points out, you kind of like deploy all this energy you haven't got sometimes because you're yourself completely exhausted.
I don't know if you're like this, but they like to message. So they'll message in a chat box. So you'll ask them a question and they'll give you the answer in the chat box. So I know they're there and they're engaging, but it's quite simple to just put on a microphone.
Yeah,
and just tell me. But I do feel they're still grasping it. I think what they're not getting, and I feel for them on this, is that, the experience of, being with their friends, being in certain environments, and that's something, we can't give them, but we can give them the education. And I think, me and a lot of my colleagues, we've worked 24/7 because you feel like you have to give them even more. So I've been answering emails when I shouldn't be, kind of like 11 o'clock at night, or on a day off, because I just think they need me. And what I have found as a positive, because I'm trying, like you, to get all the positives out of this situation, is that it's made me learn more technology, which is great. It's made me rethink the way that I teach and try and be even more creative. And I've also built more of a connection with the students, despite the fact that they haven't been with me face to face, because I have cared about their mental health. Because you'll see an email come through, or you'll check in on somebody, and one-to-one they will open up with you, and I feel like I've gained more children. But in the fact of I love my job anyway, but I feel like I love it even more now, because I kind of have that passion for the students, because I've seen what they've been through and how they're really trying just as much as we're trying. So yeah, and I've been lucky, I have to say I've been lucky as a person, touch wood, none of my family have had COVID, and you just thank your blessings all the time for the good things in life. Hence, choose life, the t-shirt, it's kind of like,
exactly.
Be thankful, and if we have to change things, fine for now, but hopefully, these things will come back, and hopefully come back for the better. It might take a bit of time, but
yeah.
And I think
it's been an absolute constant being this constant in the student's life. I hear so much of what you say, Michelle, and you're absolutely right. You've made a change, and you've been there as a constant, and that's building more relationships, building stronger relationships with them. And these children will not forget that you were there for them in a time like this, because there's never been a time like this before. Let's face it, we've all kind of like learned to adapt to it and work around it. So
and also going back to what Graham said about kind of like the education side of it, doing the PR and doing the journalism teaching through this pandemic, what we've been doing is actually doing what the media industry and the PR industries have been doing, because they've been kind of communicating through Zoom. They've been more creative on social. So that's what I've had to kind of adapt the lessons to, and say these PR companies are now using social more, knowing that that's a way to reach the client rather than the traditional ways of meeting people up. And again, in journalism, it's kind of, they're doing these Zoom chats. So look, you're seeing that on the news. Let's kind of explore this area, and let's talk about how we can do things differently, how we can do things at home, video ourselves, or be creative with apps. I have even gone on TikTok, Malika.
No way. TikTok.
I felt that had arisen in lockdown, and if you don't walk the walk, you can talk the talk, but you need to walk the walk. So I am now on it, and
amazing.
I really like it. I'm
Yeah.
42 and I'm on TikTok.
I think
I've got to go like this, right? Because that's just something I haven't even touched, and I don't even know if I'll go there. So, yeah, kudos, and
I think it's quite
TikTok.
interesting actually how you mentioned TikTok, Michelle, because I'm having to adapt to what's going on. Because I remember very early on in conversations about, this is going back to delivering education in September, so as if the students were going to be back. And I remember a conversation about having to clean equipment down. It's like, is there an expectation of students being able to do that in between lessons? And there was a huge debate about all the students, what that be perceived as students having to clean classrooms after lessons. And I think I understand that may be a concern of perception. However, the representatives from the arts school were saying, well, actually in industry that is expected, where you have to clean down the equipment. That's what's happening in industry right now. A cameraman will use that, or a camera person, I should say, rather, will use that equipment and then clean it down afterwards, and then ready for someone else to do. So you need to prepare students for what's happening in industry. They're not becoming cleaners because there isn't enough big enough resource. We're just doing what's happening in industry. So it's quite interesting how there's nervousness conversations, however, but it's you're preparing them for the future. And I think going on new TikTok channels and all the rest of it is part of that learning mechanism, isn't it? If you don't know it, how can you teach it?
Exactly, and these are things that, we've done in lockdown, and these aren't going to disappear. I think it will kind of increase, so we will carry these in, because the world has changed. The world now is a different place. So yeah, and I'm such a believer in that, Graham, that it's like, if I'm teaching them something, that I do it and I know it. I mean, I'm from the industry anyway, but I feel you need to see that. You need to see that, oh my God, Michelle has put it into practice. So they do start to follow me now on TikTok and think I'm pretty crazy when I'm doing my lip syncing. I lip synced with Belinda to Let It Go.
Oh, brilliant.
She pulled my hair, I pulled hers, and the wig came off. You've got to.
I saw that. I literally, I thought that was just an Instagram story. I didn't realize it was TikTok.
TikTok. Do you know how many views it's got?
I don't want to imagine. It's got to be plus 1,000 easily.
No, 105,000.
Wow, that's awesome.
I know. It's like I've become a TikTok star, and I've only been on it a couple of weeks, and it's like,
take it,
what
Michelle.
the heck?
Take it.
Next, I'll be on Strictly, because apparently Strictly Come Dancing this year is looking for TikTok stars.
There you go. We've got to put you forward. I think you definitely fit the bill. I think 100%. I would definitely watch you.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, I hate having to end conversations, but it's been really wonderful. What me and Malika have learned, and it talks about what you've said, Michelle, in terms about learning and adapting and pushing yourself through. But basically, yes, sorry, Zoom's telling me to go away, Zoom. But I hate that. We're pushing ourselves forward. We're sticking to these kind of having half an hour conversations at the moment, just to develop the skill set, because it is hard, it is difficult, and if you don't really know, it does take practice. But having a chat with you today on a Sunday morning has been absolutely brilliant. The Choose Life t-shirt, I did take a sneaky little see the text on your mug, and I think that's brilliant.
Oh, amazing.
It is Prosecco in here. That's why I'm so giddy on a Sunday morning. That's what
awesome.
it is. It's not coffee, it's Prosecco.
Oh, that's awesome. I think every teacher in the world has one of those mugs, I think.
We aren't going to comment on that, are we? But no, seriously, I mean, the secrets of a trade, you can't be let in. That's a teacher thing, Graham. That's a teacher thing.
Oh, is it now? Okay, fair enough.
Well, thank you, honestly, and it's great just kind of having conversations like this. Keep up the great work. I love listening to your podcast, and
thank you.
I might go and take my makeup off now and go back into my pajamas. It's like the first thing that I've had to put makeup on for in a while.
I know. What's that all about? I know I haven't done my face on like that. I only do it when I do podcasts with him, because normally I would just be around there, wearing my tracky bottoms and just
Graham, your makeup looks fab.
I know, honestly, it's brilliant. When's the barber's opening? This is the longest my hair's ever been since I was a kid. I mean, I found a picture that I had that I think I want to burn, but my parents had it, and yeah, we all had very long hair when we were children. Good, evil 90s, and I feel very much like that again. It's like, oh, dusty man.
I had this beside me just in case we touched on children, but I made this book in lockdown. just to try and focus on the positive, crazy things we did in lockdown. But as you can see,
that's
my
so
hair,
cool.
I dyed pink.
Oh gosh,
so
yeah.
Oh,
pink in
lovely.
lockdown, yeah. But this was something that I did as well, just as a bit of a, we never print our photos out anymore, so it was kind of like, what did we do in lockdown, and what can we remember and cherish, really? So yeah.
And to be
that's
fair,
amazing.
The Zoom quizzes, we've all done them, haven't we?
Oh yes, the Zoom quiz.
Love it. Do you know, that's so good. Just have that to document and to keep, and yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And I do like this idea. Now I'm going to steal it, Michelle.
Do it.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to leave you because you've got more to chat about, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do.
Thank you so much,
Although
Michelle.
we could talk to you forever. Mwah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on. We could
See you
talk
very
to you
soon.
forever. Take care, Michelle.
Well, if you ever want me back, I will be there in a heartbeat.
Oh,
We'll hold you to it.
Please.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks so much, Michelle.
Oh, that was awesome, wasn't it?
I know, right? I do you know what? This is my kind of person. Michelle is my kind of people. You know, she comes on, she's got loads of positivity. She's demonstrating everything that I like in a human being, you know, positivity, resilience, willingness to help others, standing thick and thin with our students, the arts. Need I say more? The arts industry, you know, without the arts, we are nothing, Graham.
Absolutely.
And I really, truly, genuinely mean that.
No, I completely agree with you.
Culturally,
I think we've talked so much about kind of coronavirus and the negative impacts that has. You know, Ricky spoke to us about improving our mental health, and then Joe mentioned about obviously we're still a long way to go yet. And I think Michelle has touched on that in terms of the fact that we've been doing this throughout the whole of lockdown, and there's still a little bit more to go, but we will come back fighting and even stronger.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we, like I said earlier, we take the arts for granted. We take all of these people for granted, and we are responsible for ensuring that they continue to be supported. They continue to deliver all the things they deliver, and also they deserve a life. In terms of a living, we shouldn't just assume that we can be entertained for free as well. What's that all about? They will do it because they love what they're doing. They also need to be able to make a living and to be supported financially, which is what I want to do. I'm on my soapbox.
You are.
About it. Yes,
I must say, what we do on our Sundays. We get your box out, don't we, every Sunday, and we kind of okay, Malika's on her box, and she was going to start talking all about it.
Yes,
but no, it's good to see that passion coming through, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yes, Michelle has demonstrated once again what what human beings can do in times like this, in times of pandemic, and we should be all looking up to people like her.
Absolutely. I think, obviously we're going to round things up very shortly, but, our next episode is going to continue with the coronavirus kind of journey, but actually we're going to focus on the mental health in children, because actually that has been, kind of almost ignored in a sort of weird way. People have been talking about, yes, we need to get the children back into schools, back into education, but not necessarily talking about it from the mental health perspective. So it's going to be really interesting to have a chat next time, isn't it?
Yes, it will be. We are bringing a guest that is going to shine the light and illuminate that debate a little bit more. I've got my own views about the things I've seen peddled in the news and social media, but this guest is going to bring a balanced outlook, and I really hope that our listeners will enjoy that.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't have obviously children, but I've got lots of nephews and a niece, and basically, I've seen a difference in the 16-year-old, because obviously he was especially doing his GCSEs this year. Now he's not doing them, and he's very concerned about how that's impacting him, and you can see his demeanor change quite a lot, really. So it'd be interesting to see what our guest says next time.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's about time that we kind of like explored things a bit better. It's not a one size fits all as far as I'm concerned, but I'm not going to say too much on that. That is something we're going to discuss in the next episode.
Absolutely. Okay, so we always like to finish on a high. So should we get ourselves back upbeat?
Yeah, well, we always are, though, won't we?
That's very true. That's very true.
We always are, and with someone like Michelle on our episode today, what can go wrong?
Absolutely.
Nothing.
Absolutely. I need to find a new word, because he absolutely got
no, but absolument. Then say it in French. Absolument. Voilà. There you go.
Voilà. And on that note, my name's Graham, based in Manchester.
And I'm Malika, based in Norwich.
And you've been listening to The Conversation. See you next time.